Why does it feel like there are no original thoughts anymore? It's because there's a difference between the act of learning and the art of the learner. The act of learning in today's world often becomes an act of possession, where we collect information to sound intelligent, to appear cultured, and to prove that we know things. But the art of the learner is something rarer. It's an act of humility, and one that, when painted correctly, can turn you into the most effective thinker, debater, and researcher that you know. In this video, I want to show you 3 ways, along with an additional and bizarre Oxford learning tip at the end, to become that kind of learner, one who reads, studies, and finally has critical thoughts of their own. For the sake of historic and philosophical fun, we'll characterize the art of the learner as the sage, a term that expresses the endowment of wisdom by renowned thinkers such as Plato, Diogenes, Confucius, and even Carl Jung. The sage pursues education for the right reasons, because firstly, a sage actively engages with texts. Initially, just get into the habit of opening books that you're intrigued by, as the least amount of resistance is often what will encourage more learning. But from here, as you find yourself reading more often, ask yourself or write down 3 key questions that you want to solve as you navigate the work. This keeps you engaged with the work, personalizes it, and drives you to solve problems in a more comprehensive way by not taping that first answer you come across to your mind. This also allows you to recenter your thoughts when you find them straying while studying. By having a few, but not too many questions, refocuses your mind, especially when the reading can get quite dull and technical. For example, Socrates, the dad of Western philosophy, was poisoned by his relentless nature in questioning even the most self-evident of phrases. A phrase like, "that is lovely." Well, Socrates would ask, what does it mean for something to be lovely? Would love like to be called a virtue or a habit? These are the types of questions that proliferate deep and unique thinking. It inspires a critique of the most irreducible concepts, or so we think, and this in turn enlivens creative ideas that you thought you never had access to. And looking back for a moment, what really is learning? Do you want learning to give you ideas or to give you the tools to construct your own? If you look all around you, you will notice that learning is at the foundation of our culture. And I question learning to explore exactly what it does to the mind of a learner. Today, to learn is to self-aggrandize. It is to triumphantly conquer. I apologize for my antagonizing rhetoric here. I truly do believe in the art of the learner. But the act of learning, that's another matter. Learning has become a beacon in the ether, a mediator for the mind. Learning has become commoditized in ways that our emotional currency is far past due. Learning has invited itself into the door of our mind to convince us that we will become more valuable as a result. In other words, it tells us to clean the floor from the shoes it has worn when it walked inside. My point is that learning has now forced us to come up with solutions that were not initially problems. Call it pseudo-learning, or rather, I bought this New York Times bestseller that told me how the quantum field helps me organize my room. In a world of incomprehensible information, accessibility, and production, those who champion learning as a noble pursuit would likely scoff at the imminent despair. Those such as Socrates, who said, "Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel." And you can guess who this other quote is by. "I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think." Again, it is Socrates. And even still, he always believed that he had so much more to learn. And on that note, moving on to the second point. Next, the sage does not flaunt their learnings. Instead, the sage finds ways to teach others and does so in a language that others best respond to. This allows you to articulate your learnings in novel ways, breaching the thinking structures that only resonate with you, forcing you to expand how others may integrate and apply such information through the lens of varying perspectives. Did you know that French philosopher and political activist Simone Weil sought to understand the suffering of workers? To do so, she left her position as a philosopher and worked incognito in factories, enduring exhaustion and injury. She wanted to feel the dehumanizing weight of industrial labor at the time so that she could write about it truthfully. As I mentioned, but please excuse my Socratic methodology, I'd like to separate the act of learning from the art of the learner. The act of learning today is persuasive, manipulative, narcissistic if you may, whereas the art of the learner is inquisitive, honest, and purely curious. Like much of our pursuits today, many of our actions come with the underlying implication where we whisper, "What does this do for me?" We have learned to abuse this phrase and have unknowingly held it on the pike of our dreams. We learn so that we can show others that we have learned, rather than learn because it emboldens us to think anew and sharpen our decision-making frameworks. We learn or soak up information, but do we ever ask why or how? Even now, you may ask why you're listening to me. What is it that I have to teach you? Like Socrates said, I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. In this case, I merely hope to inspire. So thirdly, just get down to learning. Don't be stifled by overwhelm, embrace it, own it, and exhibit a willingness to just get your hands dirty. At the end of the day, you either are going to do it or you won't do it, no matter how you try to rationalize your approach. Take at least one step back from all the planning and theory behind how to learn. Many times, over rationalization and planning is a procrastination mechanism that pushes the responsibility of true and difficult learning away, and it does so in a way that makes you feel more productive when you really aren't. Here, it is so important to know thyself and understand how you process information best, through structured routines or creative chaos, or maybe a mixture of both. Nonetheless, what's most important is that you're being honest with yourself and getting comfortable with doing difficult things. Your greatest teacher is often action. This is who the sage often walks in stride with. I think Nietzsche's concept of becoming who you are exemplifies this carefully. Becoming who you are isn't a call to self-improvement in the way that we often hear it today. It's not about adding more knowledge or achievements. It's about stripping away everything that keeps you from being more of yourself. Nietzsche believed that most people live as reflections, repeating others' ideas, performing intelligence, and mistaking accumulation for real understanding. In the art of learning, the sage, or rather the becoming that Nietzsche speaks of, is about dancing to the music that no one else can hear. It's the kind of learning where you read slowly because you want to be changed. You're willing to unlearn what flatters you, and you measure growth not by what you know, but by how truth reshapes you. And as I mentioned, there's that quick and bizarre bonus tip for while you're learning and reading. According to Oxford Learning, it's to find ways to make your learnings funny. Humor enhances retention by reducing anxiety that approaching some philosophical texts may even come with, and by activating your dopamine reward system, which is crucial for the positive reinforcement of a habit. And funny enough, that does make sense. So imagine the writer falling off their chair while writing the passage that you're reading at that moment. Or your friend falling off a chair, or anyone for that matter. Wiping out could be kind of funny. Anyways, please subscribe for more conversations like these, and remember to be human. Thank you so much.